Everybody, fucking us brothers, rock your bullshit. Yeah, it's fucking us brothers. Us brothers is back. Fucking cunts.
That was a good one. I liked it.
Thank you. All day, I was like, what am I going to sing for the intro song? Also, I actually found out how to overlay music into the start. But now I've started this whole process of just singing the fucking intro. It's going to become like a whole new thing. What do you think? Backstreet's back?
All right.
Yeah. I was Googling today. I was, as I do while I'm at work, because I'm my own boss and, I own my own bar. So I fucking don't do a lot. And in between watching like episodes of New Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is fucking excellent.
I got to start watching that show. I hear it's so good.
It's fucking hilarious. Anyway, I just started Googling like, what are the most iconic songs of the 90s? And bam, Backstreet's Back rolled up. I was like, fuck yeah, that's my intro song, bro. That's what I'm doing. Ryan, ArseBros Ryan. How are you, mate? What's going on? Tell us about your life quickly while we're waiting for Manny, who may or may not join us. He's trying to Skype off from work and use like hospital Wi-Fi where he's working to join us. And Toby's never on time. So while we're waiting for those dickheads, what's going on, Chief? You good?
Yeah. First day of my week vacation I'm taking. Gonna do some fun wedding planning, but before that all goes down.
It's never fun, mate.
Before it goes down, I'm going to be drinking a lot of beers and talking Arsenal with.
You remember these simple rules, Ryan. These simple rules about your wedding. You ready? I'm going to drop some knowledge bombs on you
right now. Okay.
Number one, this wedding has absolutely nothing to do with you. You have no say in anything. The sooner you accept that, the less hardship you're going to feel. Number two, the following sentence will get you banned from sex completely. How fucking much? Question mark. Do not fucking use that one. Stick to these simple rules, Ryan, and remember that you never gave a thought to this in your entire life, and who you're marrying has probably been thinking about it since she was 12. Think about it like Arsenal. Think about it like, imagine if you had 4 games in a month and you were doing a January review, Ryan, or a review on January, and you didn't have a single win to review because you'd had 4 games and 4 draws. How would that make you feel, Ryan?
My question would be, how much do we have to spend to get a win and 3 points? I don't know. It's very tough.
Yeah. Did you realize, until I actually, I knew that obviously because I watch all the games, we watch all the games, we analyze them and we chat. But it wasn't until I went back to it this morning, as I do at the end of the month with the end of the month review. It wasn't until I went back to it this morning that I was like, holy fuck, 4 games, 4 draws. And the only 2 wins we've had have been Leeds in a cup where we were diabolical and had to turn it on, and Bournemouth, where we essentially played for 35 minutes and then coasted to victory against a weakened Bournemouth team. So it's funny because I kind of thought, as Toby joins us, your hair is just getting luscious. It's falling over your shoulders like Tarzan, Toby. Are you conditioning?
No.
That triangle soul patch is
really you're using your fucking headset for the first time. Talk into it.
Yeah. I thought I'd give it a go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's maybe a little bit quiet, but fuck it. Don't try and fix it. You'll just fuck it up.
Okay, cool.
Toby, before we got sidetracked by your mane, your luscious Mufasa, your mane of Mufasa hair, Ryan's looking like lovingly at it, like he wants to reach out into the screen and just run his hands through it.
I just want to know how much for the mustache rides. That's all I want to know. Just simple price tag would be great. The triangle soul patch to the. Oh, that looks. Oh.
Go on.
No, you go.
I said I only found out what a mustache ride was like a couple of years ago. I was completely oblivious to it.
Well, I think it's interesting, Toby, that you look kind of luscious and in shape. And I saw your wife in the cafe the other day, and she just looks angry and pregnant. So while she's just like ever growing, you're like culturing this fucking mane so you can stand in front of a fan in front of her and like wave your fucking head.
That's right. Well, it doesn't make her fucking like me anymore. I can tell you that. So it makes no difference.
She doesn't look like she likes anything at the moment, man.
No. She is an angry whale.
Yep. Yeah. Toby, we were just remarking before that as I went back through the games as we do, I know I'm repeating myself here, but as I went back through the games, the realization that we'd had 4 games in the Premiership and 4 draws dawned on me. I was like 0 wins to talk about this month. And there's so much feeling of new emotion and new awakenings and, still like a tide of, even throughout this period, there's still been this tide of positivity due to just the change and due to Arteta saying the right things and the team looking like they're trying harder. But ultimately, Toby, it's 4 games, 4 draws, and if you take the 2 cups, a lackluster performance against Leeds, where we really had to pull our fingers out and we got made to look silly for 45 minutes, and a game against Bournemouth where they put out a weakened team and we kind of battered them away and then didn't really try very hard for 45 minutes. Where are you emotionally, Tarzan?
Well, I think this is the upturn we were looking for, though. I think the new manager bounce just meant that we stopped losing, not that we were able to start winning. And only a week ago, we were all pretty buoyant about what was coming next. I still had this, fanciful idea that we were going to compete for top 4 because of the other shit cunts everywhere else who didn't want it.
Yeah.
I thought that our kids were coming on amazingly. I thought Aubameyang was coming back into the team. I really genuinely thought something good was happening. And it's funny how this one performance with the Burnley game, can sort of set us in a whole different mindset and like quite a negative mindset for everyone. Whereas we were really quite buoyant before. And I think with all of the draws, with the sheer quantity of draws, I felt that when Arteta took over, it could have gone either way with a couple of those games, and we could have had some wins. This last week was actually the worst performance of all, and it's kind of made us feel just a little bit less confident. Not questioning Arteta, but just realizing that this squad is actually fucked. And going back to all the things we were talking about previously and how poor the construction of the team has been. So it's not Arteta. He's got a fucking hard job.
Ryan, 1-1 draw with Palace. Roy Hodgson found us out, made a tactical change, red card to Aubameyang, all went to shit. A difficult game against a good team in Sheffield. So 1-1 draw at Palace, 1-1 draw at Sheffield. Late equaliser after we'd kind of scrapped our way to what we thought was going to be a win. 2-2 away to Chelsea. A brave performance from 10 men. A red card to David Luiz. Mustafi goes full Mustafi. But we see some fight and we see some desire. And then the 0-0 draw against Burnley, which, as Toby said, was the worst performance of the bunch. Ryan, do you find it interesting that it seems that we've sorted ourselves out defensively very, very well? And it's actually the part of the team that people thought Arteta wasn't going to have an issue with that's maybe letting us down, the attacking third.
Yeah, I think to me that's like a nod to just how well Arteta has done and, came into the team and kind of altered us defensively and kind of cut down chances and kind of zero in on teams trying to penetrate our box. But it's a little tough when, you're focusing on that and, kudos to Emery, big ups. Yeah, it's great. You don't really have to
Emery or Arteta?
Oh, geez, yeah. See, these draws
Early-
are giving me
Early in the morning, bros.
PTSD.
Early in the morning.
But
for you.
yeah, it's tough because with our form and everything that's going on, people are gonna almost like, oh, is the glass half empty or half full? Because when you look at it, it's like, there's only I think it's like Watford and Newcastle only teams that have less wins than us. But then the only team that has less losses than us is Liverpool. No one has less losses than we do. So it's tough to kind of, for me anyway, it's like tough to analyze because you want to be positive and be like, yeah, the only team that has more losses is Liverpool. But then it's like all these draws, you're like, well, yeah, only two teams have less wins than we do. So it's tough, but I think offensively it's just finding what clicks and maybe trying new things, because I think Arteta is very I don't know, put this in a nice way. I think he knows what he wants, and he wants to put square pegs in round holes, no matter what, just because of maybe his former tenure with the player, former teammates. Maybe
Yeah, we're gonna have a
get
dig
into that.
We're gonna have a dig into Mesut, but I'm imploring us. Not that ArseBros ever has any rules, but I'm imploring us to try and have a sensible conversation later on about Özil, because Manny's going to be on.
Fun.
No matter what, I have to save it until Manny's on because he just wants to slice people's throats and go nuts. Just quickly before we move into the 3-2-1s, the 1-2-3s, which as always is going to bring up so many talking points, players of the month, shit cunts of the month. We'll go through all 6 of them, have a look at who did what. Toby, just quickly, of the 4 draws, so Palace, Sheffield, Chelsea, Burnley, do all of them feel like points dropped for you, or do some of those feel like points gained because in another world that could have been a loss to Palace down to 10 men and could have been a loss to Chelsea down to 10 men? Because I think that might be the reason why there's still a feeling of buoyancy, because both of those games historically would have gone the other way against us, and to see us get up and fights something that we haven't seen, something we've wanted to see for a long time.
Look, potentially, but the problem is that our MO has been absolutely shit on the opposition for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I feel like against all of those teams, we did that. All of those teams listed. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Palace, Chelsea, we certainly did the first time. Sheffield, we did. And Burnley, we did. And let me just put in a little side note. If fucking Laka and Aubameyang don't fuck up, then Arteta's selection is completely justified, and we just hold back and defend the win because they did their job in the first 10 minutes. So, it's the buoyancy. How do I phrase this? We can still be somewhat buoyant, but there's starting to be a real connection, like a real pattern now with the way we're playing. And if we're not putting away those goals early, which we don't because our front 4 just doesn't click, then all of a sudden the opposition works out how to play against us, nullifies us, and then we all know that we're pretty bad from long balls, set pieces, and then a high press as well. So all of those things.
We will kind of dig into that later on because we're going to analyze what's wrong and what's missing. But I do completely agree with you, and I do really agree with you that buoyancy is still there, throughout the Arsenal fan base. And it's kind of what I was getting at the start, that when you look across a month of football and you see 0 wins, that it's interesting to see where the buoyancy is from, because it's not like that new pussy feeling has worn off yet. It's Manny just walking down the street. I don't know. He must be on his 5G because it's crystal clear.
As long as that's not Streatham High Street, Manny.
I don't know where Manny is. I don't know where he is. Anyway, I think that's why I think that new pussy feeling hasn't worn off yet. It's still there. It's still strong. Arteta hasn't started to break our balls yet, and we haven't realised that maybe we made a terrible choice. I think you're starting to see some dissenting voices now. That's not surprising with our fan base that there have been some dissenting voices, and we are later on going to dig into some of the tactical reasons why it's maybe not working and dig into kind of personnel versus coaching and things like that. But into our 3-2-1s and our 1-2-3s. So the monthly 3-2-1s and the 1-2-3s, guys. And there's some really interesting data this year. It's so off-putting watching Manny just walk through a fucking... Like, it's really odd. And I can't help but sit there looking at it. I really want
neither.
I really want someone to jump out and fucking mug him or something. And I
think he's in a fucking hospital, isn't he?
He is. He's working in a hospital. Yeah. Anyway, anyone listening to us on the podcast right now, Manny's got his camera open. He's found somewhere where he's found somewhere where he's able to sit down and skive off work, where he can close the door and he can do the podcast while getting paid for it. So really, really interesting.
Awesome. But Good work.
But
golf clap.
3-2-1s, 1-2-3s, guys. Coming in with our 3 points. What's up, Manny? How are you, bro?
That's a big fucking jug of water. Holy shit.
Are we actually going to be blessed to see your face today, or are you going straight back to Avatar? Or is your avatar a bottle of water for the day?
I wanted Avatar to be you. That was so much fun.
You got enough water, mate?
Yeah, man. So I drink this on a daily basis, man. This is like 2 liters.
No wonder he's always so angry. He always needs to pee.
Oh, fuck off, man. Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I was just I was coming back from a call actually, so I thought I'd bless you with the images that I see on a daily basis. And it looks
nice. It's a nice day. It's a beautiful blue sky day out there, Manny.
Yeah, but it's freezing, bro. So I was gonna do this in the restaurant, but there was too many people and the Wi-Fi is not connecting, so I'm on my 4G. So if I drop out, you know why, and I'll be back like in a hot second. So
anyway, you would drop out whether you're in the hospital or at your house. Don't lie. Come on.
Well, no, since I'm on 4G and might likely drop out more than Anyway, where were we?
All right,
what did I miss?
Let's crack in. Not much. Bit of a quick intro. 17 minutes of fluff. I sung Backstreet's Back for the intro music this week.
I wish I had a marker. I would just be like marking this wall and shit. Anyway,
that'd be awesome.
Anyway,
what happened to our theme music instead of you stupid cunt?
Oh no,
I can't fucking put it on the fucking YouTube.
Okay. All right.
So therefore, anyway, I can't sing our theme music. So
I would just throw it out there to everyone. Rocky, that nothing would be better than you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
Manny's died. He's fallen over. Fucking stop moving your camera, man. No one can concentrate.
See, this is why I don't want to be on camera, right? Because I can't sit still. I'm always moving. So, and people who complain about me not being on camera, this is why. All right. So stop complaining and just deal with it. I'll try to sit still. All right.
It's like watching a fucking first-person shooter, except you don't have a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to see a gun or your dick. I don't know. It's like either way with you.
Put the water in there. At least then we can concentrate on the fucking water.
All right.
I'm not even distracted by that. I'm staring at Toby's facial hair.
Shut the fuck up about the fucking water. Yes. Thank you, Manny, for giving me the finger. Once again, we've managed to burn 20 minutes of a podcast doing little or nothing and saying not much. Anyway, for the last time, guys, 3-2-1s, 1-2-3s for the month of January. It's panned out pretty understandable, pretty accepting, and then some really interesting kind of analytics and data to look at the end of it, which is going to give us some really good talking points. But, captain, my captain, the guy who a lot of us really wanted as captain at Arsenal, I think if he wasn't injured, he maybe would have been made captain at Arsenal. But Hector Bellerin coming in with 17 points positive, 0 points negative for a score of plus 17. Toby, Hector Bellerin, we had our doubts about him and we were talking, Manny, stop moving your fucking camera.
I love it.
I tried to warn you lot. Just deal with it, man. Just go with it.
He's just looking around.
I swear, turn your avatar on. You're making us seasick.
Well, I'm just spinning around in my chair. Will you stop complaining?
He's a little kid. Oh, I love spinning around chairs.
I need to put a
It's
bit of
not.
paper over this
I
fucking
can't
thing.
dude. I can't sit still, man. I can't sit still for more than half an hour.
Something
So
soothing
deal
to
with
me.
it.
I like it.
It's the worst fucking podcast ever.
All right.
Anyway,
so
I
for
love
anyone
Hector
listening
Bellerin.
to the audio on this, they've already turned it off. Anyway,
Yeah.
Hector Bellerin. The strange thing about
Okay.
this is the player that he replaced was our most informed player before he replaced him. So it's a little bit odd. I think obviously the Chelsea performance, the draw that should never have been a draw. I'm sure everyone positive points to him. So there would be a very strong overall score because of that. Has he played to the level that he was previously? No. Are we starting to see the resurgence of the player that we've missed for the last year and a half? Yeah, potentially.
Ryan, after all of the Ainsley Maitland-Niles love and conversations that we had where, we were talking about Ainsley Maitland-Niles maybe being more of the style of right back that Arteta was going to be interested in. Do you think that Hector's now really put a lot of our fears to bed about that and re-stamped his authority, obviously, with the goal, but also with some defensive performances as well, where he's been really good and really dogging his positioning's been really good?
When Hector first came into the team, it was Chelsea first came into the team. The first thing I said to you guys when I think it was Dan Potts posted the starting 11, I was like, "What are they doing? Why is he back? This is not the game for him to come back midweek. A big team. This is a big game for us. I mean, some people have written the season off fine, but it's still a big game. It's Chelsea." I just was like, "What are we doing?" I didn't like it. I thought maybe could have been Arteta trying to flex his big muscle, saying, get him back in the team. Boy, oh boy, what he's came back. It's very hard to say because I completely agree. I think Maitland-Niles has been our best, maybe not our best player, but our best informed player, like you said, under Arteta. But it's weird because in saying that, I think Bellerin's almost been like a breath of fresh air in that I not 100%, but I see a leader coming. I see someone who could potentially lead us going forward. Good defensively, good offensively. I said this to you guys after the last game against Burnley. I love his positioning. I just feel like he knows where to be at the right times, and I think that's big. And I think some people don't really analyze that, especially if he's not, in the play or on the ball. People just watch the ball and they go, "Okay, did Aubameyang score? He scored. Okay, that's plus points." No. But there's little things in the game that people don't notice and see. And I just think his movement on and off the ball, his positioning is phenomenal. And like I said, he's someone that I think should be our captain. I don't think Aubameyang's really doing anything. I don't want Lacazette. I think Bellerin's a guy for now that we have going forward. And it's just kind of getting through this, I guess, these draws that we keep getting, because apparently we can't win, we can't lose. But yeah, I'm excited for him going forward. But that does leave questions about AMN, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah.
Manny, do you think that we missed Bellerin more as a leader than we did as a player? And a lot of the reason why we've been super excited to see him back is because we've seen more leadership qualities on the pitch since he's been back?
Possibly. I think we just missed him in general. I know people, I've always spoken about Maitland-Niles, filling in for him, but Bellerin's that natural right back, knows the position in and out, and his leadership qualities were sort of, chiseled while he was off the pitch. Him immersing himself in what Arsenal's all about, him, being at bars in America and singing Arsenal songs all played a role in him, picking up that mantle. So him coming back and showing those skills and being that leader, whether it be vocal or just by performances, all stems from him being off the pitch for so long. So it's a positive because we finally have somebody who understands, what it means to be Arsenal and then to be an Arsenal fan first and foremost. So that understanding and that connection between, him and the fans, it's only a plus for us. So 17 points, all positive. I'm not against that at all. He's been
and 17 points in 2 games as well, Manny.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that says it all. To come back in a big game against Chelsea, stand up and be counted. He was being roasted earlier in that game, but to stand up and be counted, to show up when we needed somebody to show up. Hey, listen, what more can you say about that? So it's going to take a bit more time for him to be at, at full pelt and at 100%. But if this is him at 60, 70%, then 100% is going to be phenomenal. I hope so anyway.
I think it's interesting when you take Rob Holding into account, and Rob Holding coming back from the cruciate, and then we fold that over to what we can expect from Callum Chambers coming back from the cruciate as well. That they basically apparently had to pull Hector Bellerin out of making his returns because he was physically so short as far as his muscle development, and that they pulled him for a period of time, put a really hard work schedule into him, and he's come back and he immediately looks better. I think it's definitely food for thought when people are questioning Rob Holding, and food for thought into the future when people are going to be kind of posing the same questions about Callum Chambers, who we're not going to see, I would imagine, for majority of next season as well. And then even when he does come back, he's going to be a shadow of the man he is. Toby, going to throw this one to you first. So coming in with 2 points. And I don't think we need to have a big vaginal gush session over this, because I kind of feel like...
I'll try not to.
Well, I kind of feel like there's so much gushing already, but I'm hoping that we can have a bit more of an intelligent conversation about this guy rather than just like full-blown double erections. So, Gabriel Martinelli coming in with the same score of plus 17 as Hector. I gave Hector the 3 points instead of the 2 points because Martinelli did it in more games. So Hector only had 2 games. I think Martinelli had all 4 starts.
Oh, they tied.
Or 3.
I didn't even know that.
They're tied, yeah. So plus 17 for Martinelli, 0 points negative for a score of plus 17. Toby, I love him. You love him. We all love him. Have you got anything other to say than just give me your children?
I'll stem the gush straight away. Like I'll turn her off in a flash. He had a crap game against Burnley. He was he was actually poor for the first 20 minutes against Chelsea. All right, so let's pump the fucking brakes a little bit. This guy is a maniac.
I'm gonna pump more gush on me. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, well, cover yourself and lap it up. Anyway. Thank you, Manny.
If we have Ronaldo on our team, you'd appreciate that,
Shut the
Manny.
fuck up, Brian. I will punch you in the face through the fucking camera.
So he is an unpolished diamond at the moment. He is our junior, and he needs to be played as a junior. He, like I said, he was poor in the first 20 minutes in his preferred position on the left against Chelsea. He's obviously done well and been rewarded for his plays. I thought he really struggled, particularly on the right against Burnley. And yes, we all love him. He's everything us fans love: hard running, aggression, directness, speed, passion, all of the intangibles that gets us gushing. But let's pump the fucking brakes. Like, let's not go, all right, let's sell everyone. He's going to be our starting number 9 for the next 5 years, and we're going to win the Premier League and the Champions League. So, we just have to love him, but love him for what he is, which is a youth and a squad player. He should be 3rd or 4th choice. And I understand if you're good enough, you're ready. I mean, you look at your Michael Owens, your Wayne Rooney's in the past, they were good enough and they were ready, but let's just not put all of our eggs in one basket. But look, absolutely deserving. Coming it back to our actual topic of discussion, in a long-winded way, he has been the player or equal best player of the month, no doubt. And with our superstars returning, that has actually brought the downturn in our performance rather than the upturn. So, food for thought.
Ryan, as you are so gushing, and I know you're one of these very hard gushers, and you do have much erect penis for Martinelli. Do you want to throw some gush on top?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think again, I use this term like breath of fresh air, and I think I use it for a lot of our players, and I think that's more toward Arteta, because I think Arteta is bringing this out in a bunch of our players. But I just nothing, even playing at like a lower levels or just playing pickup football with your friends, like nothing is better than someone who runs their fucking tail off for you. Nothing is better than someone who works hard for you. They could fucking be terrible. They could fucking toe the ball out of bounds every time they fucking get to it. But if they work their fucking ass off and run I love it. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, when he played right wing for Burnley, he's raw, and I get it. He's young, but that's my point. I don't understand why he had to play right wing. He's 18. You're gonna tell him to play a different position with a different player. In him and Bellerin, he's kind of protecting Bellerin. And I kind of think that's another reason why he kind of played over Pepe. I just think defensively, Pepe not 100% yet, and I think Martinelli. I don't think Martinelli is amazing defensively, but he's better than Pepe. So I get it, but just kind of asking him to it's hard to explain, because while he was on the left wing, him and Saka were doing some brilliant stuff, and both of those guys, I'm excited. But kind of putting him on the right wing, isolating him as an 18-year-old, I think that's like a tall order against a team like Burnley who likes to bully people. Not that I think he was going to be up for it, but it's just, I think it's kind of almost like pushing the envelope a little bit, like kind of like seeing what he could do, give him more difficult things.
Look, I don't want to get bogged down in just the Burnley game. I don't want to get bogged down in the. I don't want to get bogged down in the last performance, because it's a monthly review, and we're looking at his performance across the monthly review, and we've all given him really, really strong points, predominantly across the first two games. His performance against Palace, his performance against Sheffield, and a lot of us, like Toby said, gave him points against Chelsea because he's the guy who made the breakthrough and came to the party. And I agree with you as well, 100%, Brian. Right now we're looking at having a lacking of running in the team. This guy's providing the running. He's providing the pace. He's providing excitement for Arsenal fans again. And, in another season where we don't have that much to cheer about, it's so great to have an 18-year-old to cheer about.
Exactly.
I am, however, really strongly of the opinion that 18-year-olds, if you put them up on a pedestal too high, you're going to break them. Right now, this kid's got nothing, no negatives. Every time he goes out, it's only positives. As soon as people start chatting shit and saying, this kid's got to start every week, this kid needs to start up front, this is our next centre forward, this guy's going to be part of a front three, first team choice moving forward next season, then I err on the side of caution. I go back with Toby and I sit there and say, he is 18. There is no need to put this degree on pressure of him this fast. If he is still genuinely this good next season, he will force his way into the starting lineup and he will maintain his starting position. Manny, you want to have the last word on this?
Sorry, Manny, just like Anelka did with Ian Wright.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want another Guendouzi on our hands. We don't want that. We don't want to burn him out. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Manny?
Give that boy the time he needs to be great. Stop, putting unnecessary pressure on him. I know he's doing something that we haven't seen for a while, but Arsenal fans have a tendency to overhype and go crazy and knee-jerk and jizz all over the place when it comes to youngsters, especially one that's doing.
Gosh, Manny, it's a family podcast. Come on.
So No, give that kid the time to grow. He's still raw. He still does things that, that an 18-year-old should be doing, at this stage of his career. So give him time, man. I know he doesn't have that many negatives because he's doing things that seniors aren't doing at the minute. You know what I mean? And we're seeing things from him that we haven't seen from other strikers in a long, long time. So it's easy to go crazy. But Arsenal fans, please don't. But you will anyway because you're idiots. So yeah, no, just give this kid the time he needs, man. That's it.
Do you know what Martinelli is? Martinelli's kind of like ice cream, right? And
Ooh, I like ice cream.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, you have ice cream and it's great, and then you have ice cream again and it's great, and then you fear that if you have too much ice cream, you're not going to love ice cream. That was for someone who wrote a comment last week saying, "Do any of my analogies not involve dicks or pussies?" So I made an analogy about ice cream. So fucking deal with that shit. Deal with that shit. But look, round table, round the room, I think we can all agree this kid is an excitement machine. This kid is super exciting. This kid is something special. I just think that as Arsenal fans, we've done it so much over the years. We do it with managers. We do both sides of the equation with this, where we just label people as shit and we don't give them time, and we label people as legends. It's almost like the Paul Gascoigne adage. It's like anytime any English midfielder gets compared to Gascoigne, all of a sudden they turn to shit, like fucking Ross Barkley, and it turns out they're not that good anyway. So I'm both sides, right? I say, let's be happy about this. I think we've uncovered a gem. I think he's going to be fantastic. And I completely agree with what Manny said, which is let's give him time and let's give him the space to become great, rather than trying to ram him in a system where he is not, regardless of youth, he is not going to be able to maintain this level of output week in, week out for a football club. I don't think it's possible. The only guy we've seen try and play with this level of output is Sanchez. And I mean, I'm no Sanchez fan, but physically that dude was a fucking freak and was on an adult frame. I would fear for what things may happen to a young kid's body who's putting out that output every week without the support of the team around him. Interestingly enough, it brings us into our 1 point, so our third best player of January. And it's another one of our kids, guys. And Ryan, could we have ever expected when Kolasinac went down and Tierney went down that the answer to so many of our problems, even to an extent the answer to the Granit Xhaka problem, was going to be a tactical switch and an implementation of an 18-year-old into a left wing-back position?
The man is blacker than Wesley Snipes.
Not that black.
What? Wait, what?
Manny, is Saka? Manny's Saka? I didn't think Saka was that black.
Like he's almost purple, but that's the point. I was big on him. I don't know if he was on the team yet, but I think he was 16. I watched him play for the U23s a little bit. He's going to be good. I'm almost more excited for him than I am Martinelli, only because
I said that.
Yeah, I don't want to give you credit, but yeah, I agree with you. But seeing him come through the academy, and like, I know I have a soft spot for. I'll compare myself with some of these peon fans. I want to see a guy succeed in the academy and come through the academy and do good things. And I think Saka is that guy. And I was big on him when he was 16, kind of getting his first couple minutes in the team due to injuries and stuff. The question is, though, where is he going to play? I think he's just so good as a left back. And I don't know if he's played yet, but I'm very curious to see him play as a left wing back. I don't know if that
he essentially is playing as a left wing back because Xhaka's pulling into a 3 and he's pushing up. He's not playing as a proper left back or as a defensive left back. Manny, do you think that Saka's success in this position, if we accept the fact that he obviously has applied himself in a way that we haven't seen a lot of people apply themselves over the years, and we accept the fact that obviously he has the mentality for success. If we accept those two things as true, do you think that Saka's success in this position is as much to do with Arteta building a system tactically and technically that's allowed him to flourish in a more advanced position? Tell me more, Manny. Tell me more. Manny,
Well,
are you on mute?
He's gone.
Manny's dropped out again.
I'll tell you something. I do not think it's Arteta. I mean, I think Arteta helps, but I think that he just wants to play. He doesn't care where he plays. You know, it's
but we said that was a given at the start.
Yeah,
Ryan. We said considering it's a given that he has the right mentality and that he's got his head down and applied
I'm
himself.
just so excited for him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I can see your boner through the camera. Toby, do you want to apply a little bit more of a analytical approach to this? Are you in agreement or you're in disagreement that it's actually heavily to do with
I think it's
Arteta's ability to build a system tactically?
I think it's completely tactical. The way that's enabled him to flourish is absolutely genius, and I think it's a real credit to Arteta the way that he sees beyond the obvious, beyond the formation, beyond the stagnant approach of a formation. You know, so the fact that Xhaka has been, his weaknesses have been nullified, and then Saka's positives have been exemplified by him being able to play more of as a wing back. I think it's completely tactical, and you know, I think, but it has provided us with a solution that means that we can go ahead with this. You know, I mean, I'm hugely buoyant and hugely excited about Saka's ability, his strength, his stand-up defending one-on-one has actually surprised me with how good it is. His calmness and ability on the ball in tight spaces, his ability to drive forward and create play, his ability to overlap and team up with Martinelli, like all these things are huge positives. And sorry to bring it back to the Burnley game, but basically we lost all of our momentum when Saka picked up that knock.
Oh, because we had so few guys who had tempo and drive on the pitch.
Well, of course, but
also
because Bellerin doesn't really cross the halfway line, like that's his instruction. And I realize he scored against Chelsea, but you know, our whole play is left-sided dominant. So we've got all these positives of Saka playing with his more forward-thinking approach, and then having Xhaka, you know, covering that position. So I think this is, let's credit the player for carrying out the instructions, but let's also massively credit Arteta for having the foresight and the agile ability to think on his feet.
Manny, as far as mentality goes, you were quite big on criticising Ainsley Maitland-Niles in his first iteration as a right wing back or as a right back. Do you think that, as well as the tactical element, that it is Saka's drive and Saka's obvious ability just to undertake instruction that's made him as effective, along with the tactical switch to allow him to play further up?
Well, there's that, and there's that. The understanding that, listen, if I'm going to be in this team, but then I've got a job to do, and that job is left back. So put me in there, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
Put me in, coach.
Exactly, and that's the problem. That's the problem I had with Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles, his first thing was to come out and say, you know, I'm not a left back, a right back, sorry. Whereas Saka is like, all right, but I'll go left wing back against Liège. I'll go left back against Chelsea. I'll go, you know, left back in this game and that game, and I'll do my best. And that's all you can ask for an 18-year-old trying to make his way. It's not to complain, not to bitch. It's just an understanding that, listen, this is what I need to do. And if I've got to do it in order to make it, I'll do it. And he's doing it to the best of his ability, and it's easy. He's easy to coach, you know, and he's not a left back, but you wouldn't know that he's not a left back if you've never seen him before. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know that he hasn't played that position ever before if you're seeing this kid for the first time. And that's what you want from youngsters coming through. You don't want that bitchy, moany, you know, complaining attitude. You just want an understanding that, listen, this is temporary, but you're playing for Arsenal Football Club. You know what I mean? It's that Lauren mentality. When Lauren came, he was a right midfielder. But he understood that if I'm going to make it at Arsenal, I'm going to be a right back, so I might as well be the best right back that I can be. And look now, he's my favorite right back of all time. You know what I mean? So, and if Saka's got that same mentality, can we really complain? Because I'm not. I love it.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting, our mate Ryan from the Mr. Arsenal podcast, I think this was in regard to when we were talking about Martinelli, but it really crosses over to Saka as well. And he says, under Arteta, he will be coached properly. I don't think we could have said that under Emery after what we did to Matteo. I think never a truer statement has been made. Yeah. And I think that ties into what kind of Toby and I were saying as well about the fact that he's provided a nursery and he's provided some positions for these guys to be able to go into and play where they are being protected and they're not being just hung out to dry. And it's really interesting. And guys, what I find super, super interesting about the top 5 players, so not just the top 3 players, but the top 5 players who came out with the highest positives for us as we draw our positives to an end. The 2 guys who just missed out, so 3 points to Hector Bellerin, man of the month, oh captain, my captain. 2 points for Martinelli, you fucking spunk bubble, I love you. Gosh. 1 point to Saka, Mr. Fix-It. And the guys who just missed out on the outside of that were Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Lucas Torreira. Now, 4 of those guys are either youth team prospects. In fact, I include Hector Bellerin as a youth team prospect because he did come to us as a kid, even though he's not a new youth team. But 4 of those guys cost us fuck all. And one of those guys is a unfashionable defensive terrier of a midfielder. And those guys are the 4 guys who have ended up getting, those guys are the 5 guys who have ended up getting our positive points for the month. And I think as we kind of dig into things, we're going to realize more and more that maybe this is the thing that we're going to get out of Arteta that I don't think people thought they were going to get. I think people thought they were going to get this amazing attacking quartet. And instead it's actually been Arteta's ability to build systems to allow players to flourish. And I think when you look at that, all of those guys are being given clear direction. Under Emery, they weren't given clear direction, and now they are being given clear direction. It's clear that Hector Bellerin understands what his role is and where he needs to be. That Martinelli has been given a role, predominantly down the left-hand side. Let's not worry about the Burnley game. It was a bit of a fuck-up from Emery. That Stack has been given a role that he understands. That Ainsley Maitland-Niles was given a role at right back where he was pulling into the midfield and it made him more comfortable in that position and less stressed. And that Lucas Torreira has been returned to a defensive midfield position where he's bulldogging the game. So for all the, kind of at the start of the show, we were talking about, it being 4 draws in the month and us maybe not feeling as buoyant or starting to lose that buoyancy. I think when you look at those sort of positive returns, it's really, really interesting. And I wanted to get that out before we moved into the negatives, before we move into the shit cunts of the month. -1, -2, and -3. So
I can't wait.
Manny's gone for another wander. He's walking down the street. Who knows where he's going? He's probably going to buy hash. But Toby, I'm going to start with you because our first negative of the month is maybe a little bit harsh, but has been brought about by, I guess, the downside in the way that we do positives and the downside in the way that we do negatives. If someone does have a truly, truly bad game, they can build up negative points really quickly. And I know when you put these up, you were a little bit upset about David Luiz coming out with 4 points positive, -13 points for an overall score of -9. Toby, you're a big believer in the fact that he's greatly improved and he probably doesn't deserve that score, and it's more an indication of his red card and getting given negative points for that red card. Maybe unduly.
Yeah, there was also a game where it might have been the first Chelsea game where I think we all 3 of us negged him hard.
He got negative really hard against Crystal Palace as well. You 3 gave him -3, and I gave him +3.
It was Palace, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, in any case, he has had a major upturn in form. The major errors that we were always concerned about him have certainly decreased. And he's also become an incredibly important part of, stop looking at Manny walking. He's
I love
also become an incredibly important part of our build-up. Okay, so I feel like under Arteta's system at the moment, the way our midfield can't really penetrate and move the ball forward quickly, which is a real weakness of ours at the moment. The centre backs, just like under the Wenger era, actually become incredibly important in instigating the play and passing incisive balls through the lines and penetrating the defense of the opposition. So I feel that, he's shown a bit of heart. His positioning seems to be a bit better. He's obviously covered by the midfield better than it has been. And the positive aspects of his game are actually starting to flourish. And something Max was saying, not to credit Max too much, but something that he was saying the other day is that Luiz is actually probably incredibly before his time, and that really Premiership.
You mean in the sense of being a modern centre back as opposed,
exactly,
I think I was saying, as opposed to being an old fashioned centre back, which
exactly.
Yeah.
And really in the way that we are trying to recruit at the moment, we've been trying to recruit ball playing centre backs way back into the Wenger era. So we've been trying to find those players. The problem is the midfield hasn't covered those players enough, so they're highly exposed, and then us as fans shit on them and we say the centre backs are the problem, whereas it's actually been the midfield not covering them that's been the problem.
It's a big talking point for us later on, Toby. Get back to Luiz as an individual for a -1.
Okay.
I guess you're kind of recognizing that he does have that mistake in him still, or that red card in him still. I -3'd him for that because I didn't think that he needed to sweep the leg. I didn't think that he needed to go full fucking I didn't think he needed to go full Cobra Kai and sweep the leg, man. I thought he could have maybe showed him the outside. Mustafi was back on the line. Double jeopardy, all this stuff. I think every podcast spoken about it to death. And on the ArseBros, we try not to cover the obvious. We try and cover the more analytical and then make some dick jokes about it. Ryan, you have been very fucking heavy on the David Luiz negatives. I think you were responsible for a large number of the David Luiz negatives when I went through it. Yeah. And you have been statistically across the year very big on the negatives for David Luiz. So you obviously feel that he deserves his place in the 1 point category of shit cunt of the month. Unlike Toby and unlike me, do you not see the improvements in him with the system, or do you just think it's the same old David Luiz?
This is awkward because I was actually gonna talk good stuff about him. I was gonna praise him.
You can't praise him and fucking negative him.
I seriously did not know. I'm like the fucking negative bandit with Luis. I really didn't know that. I think I do. I'm a big fan of his long balls. As far as that that being part of our plan and that being something that we need to be doing, that I don't know. But I think his passing is good. His defensive, and I think that's a problem with all of our center backs, is we have too many center backs that want to be a hero and make that one play that fucking Sky Sport is gonna put on their front page is highlights to this game with Arsenal, and it's just a David Luiz making a sliding challenge to save the day. And we have too many guys. Mustafi. All right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We have a lot of guys to do that. But I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus here because I can't believe I'm the negative guy for him, because I do like him, and I'm liking him more than I thought I would when we signed him. Because let's be honest, it was a panic buy. We needed a center back. We signed him at the last minute. It is what it is. But I think he's done better than I thought, and I think giving us an option and being that guy that can play out from the back and being that guy that can kind of almost. Sorry, Manny, I'm just getting a little buzzed here, so I'm losing words. But almost being like an Ozil and finding that pass and making
what fucking pass.
Exactly, I know. I told you I'm buzzed. I'm 5 years deep. Leave me alone. But finding that pass and just making these smart plays, but in the same respect.
I think that's what Toby and I have been getting at. That he is closer to the modern centre back.
Exactly. He offers more for us.
That you look at the big teams, you look at the major teams, they've all got ball playing centre backs, and a lot of those ball playing centre backs have errors in them. Everyone's losing their shit about Upamecano, like he's going to be something massively different. But you look at him statistically, he still has mistakes in his game. When you have ball playing centre backs who want time on the ball, who are comfortable with time on the ball, who are going to step up into the midfield, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get mistakes, and that's where you hope that the tactics that the coach is allowing for those things and that the team are contributing as a whole to the defensive outcome. And it's not just a midfield stressing a backline and making it so the backline, if they make hairline mistakes, are just getting ass fucked constantly. I think that's something we've seen that's different. So,
and a thing to give him credit for is he's also a very loud voice on the pitch. I don't want to go far.
Andrew from Dial Square has been saying since the first game of the season that if you watch him closely, he is one of the only vocal voices at the back. And that's going from Koscielny, who wasn't a massive talker. And I'll tell you someone else who was widely considered to be a very vocal voice was Mustafi. You know, under Wenger's system, everyone was like, why is Mustafi getting played in the center of a back three? And it's because he's an organizer. And David Luiz, you know, he may very well be an organizer as well. He just might occasionally struggle to organize his left foot with his right foot in a manner that makes tackles that don't give away penalties. Manny, are you back? Have you returned? Are you in the room? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're back, brother. Okay, Manny, I'm going to give you first crack at the -2 for the month because super vocal have you been? Did I say those the right? Super vocal have I'm like Yoda. Super vocal have you been? About not only the degradation in our -2, but in the major impact that's had on the team, especially across these 4 weeks, and especially with Aubameyang and those goals coming out the team. So, Manny, in true fashion, do you want to give us your take on Alexander Lacazette? 4 games, 3 of those games without Aubameyang, where he was essentially given the keys to the Cadillac and told to go hard. He produced nothing. Hard work, yes, but goals, no. 0 positive points, -18 negative points for an overall score of -18.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys shocked?
I think I'm surprised. I've never thought that he was a massive goal return player, but I'm surprised that he's been unable to find any form so far.
Max, since the beginning of the season, we've been talking about his attitude. Yeah, we've been talking about it, you know, under a microscope since Liège when he was meant to be leading the youngsters, and all he did was whine, moan, bitch, complain, and then walk around like he didn't deserve to be there. That's been his attitude all season, spiky, losing it with youngsters when they make mistakes. So instead of being that leader, he's just been a little petulant bitch. So my problem with this guy is I can understand that things aren't going for you, but when things aren't going for you, the least that you can show is that you're trying. Against Burnley, I'm seeing a player who's not dropping back in midfield when Ozil came off, not trying to link them play, not trying to, you know, he missed the header instead of, you know, showing that body language that, you know what, the next one, I'm not going to miss it. It's head down, or I don't really care. I'm going to moan. I'm going to complain. Listen, he's got 6 goals this season in all competitions, yeah? I think it's 6, 7, between 6 or 8 goals all season. So you would want to have those sort of stats as a striker. You would want your attitude to show that, you know what, I'm trying here, guys. Doesn't show that. Doesn't care. Seems like he's got one foot out the door. I can't stand
1 foot out the door to fucking where? To a mid-table Italian team? To fucking AC Milan? Like,
go there.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree.
It's not going to get picked. It's not going to get picked up by a top team.
Right.
Go there. Because it seems like you don't want to be there. Because it seems like you don't want to be here. You're definitely not playing.
Problem is on this form, we do not recoup the, what was it, 50? I want to say 54 million. Was it 54 million?
I don't know.
Well, that's essentially.
Toby, you're on mute. You fucking donkey.
45. Thank you.
I'm saying the thing is, right, is that, you know, the money that we spent on him is irrelevant. right? Because it was under an administration that was run by complete idiots and then scumbags and cunts. You know what I mean? So the problem
Tell
I
us
have
what
with
you
him
really
is
think.
the problem I have with him is that at the moment is that you're not even trying. You're not even looking like you really.
I
want
don't
to
know
hit
if
the
I
ball
don't know
there.
if that's true. I thought in the Burnley
Max.
game it looked like that. I felt in other games he still pressed hard and he pressed back.
See, so what does that say to you? That 1 minute you can show it, then the next minute you can't. What's the difference between
Yeah,
What's the difference between Burnley and Chelsea?
my
It's 3 points on the line.
my
Isn't it?
feeling was in the Burnley game that he had got fed up doing Özil's running for him and fed up doing Özil's back press for him, and decided he wanted to stand there in the penalty box and maybe find a goal.
Max,
I'm
you
not
before.
absolving him. I'm not absolving him.
Max,
His
no,
role
listen.
is to score some goals, and he's not scoring any goals. But I don't believe that
but-
he's in a state where he's not trying. I just think he's
Yeah,
terribly,
listen,
terribly out
listen,
of
Max.
form.
And,
Max,
and also,
you
1
play team
month ago,
sports. Right, you guys have played team sports. Sometimes you pick up the slack for your teammates, and then when you're in the dressing room, you let them have it. Right? You know what I mean? We've all played team sports here, so we know how it works. So there's 3 points on the line, and you don't want to do the running of your teammate. What does that say about you as an individual, and what does that say about you as a team player? Because it's okay for you to do it in certain matches, but against Burnley, when there is a genuine opportunity, you don't want to do the running. What does that say about you? Do you know what I mean?
I think he did it just to save himself. He just needed a goal.
Didn't fucking come for him.
I know. Look, I realised it was selfish, but I was just checking back through our points, and January 2nd, I gave him +3 for like a heroic, selfless display.
What was that against Man U? January 2nd was Man U. Yeah.
Man U, okay, yeah, that was the game, you know, and that was someone putting themselves about. So, like, I'm quite low and down on Lacazette at the moment because I'm not seeing the value in the player. I'm not seeing the value in any sell-on value. I think he could potentially be 20 million down on what we actually paid for him.
He's on reasonable wages as well, so hard to shift.
But he has shown leadership in the past when the crowd were booing, and he clapped the crowd when he went off against Emery to try and connect with the fans and make sure there was more of a positive feeling.
Lack has showed us both sides of the pancake. Though,
yeah.
Toby.
So you know he
Both
like
sides of the
going back to Manny, what he was saying with the petulant. I'm just ignoring your fucking analogies. So going back to analogy, Manny's analogy description. Shut the fuck up, Max.
I'm not doing anything. It's Ryan.
About his petulant behavior. He has shown that, but he also has that other side to him. So I just feel that he's really, really struggling with his goal scoring confidence. And as quite a 7 out of 10 player, we've discussed this before. If he isn't fighting fit and firing on all cylinders, he doesn't really have a lot to bring it down. So
essentially what you and I have said is his ceiling is maybe 8 out of 10 when he's at his absolute best, and he generally hovers around the 7. So when he drops below that, he very quickly becomes ineffective and cumbersome.
And what he's done for the last couple of months is work his fucking hole off and actually been quite selfless, you know, play further away from goal, try and bring his other teammates into it, particularly the wingers. And what's happened is the pressure has built. The fan pressure is built. The media pressure is built. And he said, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to sit in the box and I'm going to try and get that goal. Ozil does fuck all for me anyway. And unfortunately, he didn't get it. He could have got it, but he
could have got it in the first 3 minutes.
He could have. And he made a nice cross for Aubameyang as well, who also fluffed it. So I'm incredibly down on Lacazette at the moment. If, you know, I would certainly be considering moving him on at his age and his lack of ceiling at the moment. But I wouldn't say there's been no effort.
Ryan, final word on Lacazette. Negative 18 points, 0 points positive. Did you expect, like I expected, that the sheer fact that Aubameyang wasn't there and that he needed to step up, that was the time for him to stand up and be counted, and maybe that's the reason why there's so much animosity towards him?
I almost want to say he almost put too much effort in, if that makes sense. I want to say his last 3 or 4 games, you could just tell when someone needs a goal. And just by the way they're playing, the touches they take, he's forcing it. And especially at this level, if you're a really good player, and I think Lacazette is a great player. I think he could do great things for our club. You don't need to force it. It's gonna come. You're gonna get it. Whether it's a fucking shitty shot that deflects off like 2 other the opposition defenders,
like Reece Nelson's shin that went in. Yeah,
exactly. But the problem for me with him is it's his attitude. I can't stand it. I might have said this to you guys, but I definitely.
What do you mean by attitude? Clarify attitude, because you clearly said that he works hard, but do you mean attitude? Do you mean attitude as in as his body language?
No, so I've said it to Manny during when we watched the game, or I might have said this even on a podcast. When things don't go his way, he looks for fouls. When he's maybe not getting the service he wants, or he didn't get his goal. What he'll do is he'll lean back on a defender. If the ball's coming to him, he'll lean back on a defender and he'll fall, because the defender's just gonna back up for the ball and he'll fall. And he'll be like, he'll freak out and call for fouls. He's such a weird thing, because on one side of the thing, I think, which we'll get to, I kind of want him to stay, kind of. When Aubameyang leaves, I think he's going to be the guy that kind of like, not necessarily passes the torch, but kind of like connects.
Not on fucking form. They're just not the same thing. You can't give up 25 goals for a guy who at his best.
I'm just saying we're not going to keep Lacazette and Aubameyang. We know this. After the season, I don't
think either of them.
Exactly.
Manny said this. Manny said this to me very early on at the start of the season. He said to me, bruv. He starts everything with bruv. He said to me, bruv, watch some French league. Guys like this are a dime a dozen, and you don't need to pay. And you don't need to pay £55 million a year to get a guy who's going to run hard and score you 12 goals. I think that's the thing that we're coming to the realization of now. You can tell Toby's taken off his fucking headset and laid it down and put it right next to his microphone because it's echoing, because he's such a dill hole. Such a dill hole. Anyway, I think that's the issue that Arsenal fans are having with Lacazette now. That's the problem that they're having with Lacazette now, is they're realizing that we drastically overpaid for a guy who's maybe... I think it was Ian Wright said this, actually. It was either Ian Wright or Alan Shearer. I can't remember. But one of them said, lovely, Toby. One of them said the problem with Lacazette is that he's not strong enough to be strong. He's not strong enough to be considered to be a hold-up player, but he's not weak. He's not fast enough to be considered to be a really nimble player, but he's not slow. He's not a good enough finisher to be considered to be deadly, but he's not a bad finisher. He's very much an also-ran. And I think that's what Toby was getting at earlier on, where he was saying a conversation that him and I had was that he's very much a 7 out of 10 at his best, maybe an 8 out of 10 if he's on fire. And at the sort of money that we paid for him, it's not enough. Manny,
do you see him? Do you see a world where we keep Aubameyang and get rid of Lacazette? That's the question, because I don't think.
No. I don't see a world where we keep either of them. But
I agree.
We are going to get into this later on, Ryan, because we're going to have a chat about prioritization.
The one positive I'm going to say is that there are times where he can come in real clutch and score that goal that we need.
Depends whether he wants to be a second fiddle to someone else or not, because that may be the problem with him, that he's fed up being a second fiddle and doing the running.
I think they're two good friends.
Yeah, and I'd say he's kind of a Jermaine Defoe type of player, but not even as good a finisher.
But that's what I was saying about what Righty or Shearer said. He's a finisher who's not a deadly finisher. He's a hold-up player who's not a brute. He's quick enough to go in behind, but he's not lightning. I think
I agree with you as well, Max. I think he's been sacrificing himself, and he might be a bit over it.
Yep.
Good point.
Um,
Toby. Yeah, I agree.
Manny, I know that this has been something that's been burning inside you. Like
Oh, here we go.
burning inside you like chlamydia. And the only thing I'm kind of imploring you, Manny, is that we take some kind of a sane approach and some kind of a tactical approach to pulling apart our shit cunt of the month. And our shit cunt of the month is the one, the only, Bug Eyes ET, 0 points positive. Negative 27 points for an overall score of negative 27. And here's the kicker. In 3 separate games, he's been fucking excellent for 15 minutes until someone decided to mark him. Go forth, Manny. Shout your poisonous stuff into the ether. Put that fucking jersey down.
First things first, this just confirms everything that I needed to know about Ryan. Like
Ryan's just held up a Mesut Ozil jersey, so
and like you're just a creature. Can I give you guys some stats? All right, can I give you guys some stats? Is that all right?
crack in.
Go for it.
All right. So, but me personally, I only go on goals and assists because those are the only ones that really make the difference to whether your team wins or loses. Do you know what I mean? So,
What about a pre-assist?
I was gonna say, come on, that matters. Come on.
last Premier League goal. Like Ryan, sit back, be quiet on this one, please.
I'll mute Ryan for you. There you go. I muted him.
Last
Go, Manny, unopposed.
Last Premier League goal, Palace last season. His last away.
Yeah,
Can you
you're
hear
cutting
me?
out a bit, but we've got you.
Yes.
Yep.
No, you're good.
All right, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Last Premier League away assist, Stoke, April 2018. Last Premier League away goal, October 2017, at Everton. His last assist was a game that I was at, Brighton. That was on the 5th of December. Yeah.
Yep.
His record in the last year, from January 2019 until now, 2 goals, 1 assist. Somebody please tell me what this creature brings to this, what he brings to this team, because he's in this team to create, doesn't create. He's in this team to score goals, doesn't score. He's in this team to make assists, doesn't do that either. So what does he bring to this team? It's so easy to mark him out of games. All you need to do is take a few steps back, cut off the spaces that he runs into. That's all you need to do. Westwood and Cork did it. Jorginho did it. The Sheffield United midfield did it. It's so easy. So when I hear Lampard come out and say he gave us problems, his movement gave us problems, I'm thinking that was a half of football that you dominated. So what problems did he really give you? What does he offer to this team? I'm going to put this out there.
That was tactical, so we kept playing Ozil. He just wanted to stay in the top 4.
So
Oh
if anybody out there who's listening to this can actually come up with an actual argument as to why he should be in this team, I will show my face on the next podcast because I'm that confident. I am
Your beautiful face.
I am that confident that there is nobody out there who can tell me logically why he's in this team, because he's not outperforming Martinelli. He's not outperforming Saka. Assist-wise, he hasn't outperformed Callum Chambers. So we have 18-year-olds and a player who's been back at the club for 6 months outperforming him. Joe Willock, who's been in and out of the team, outperforming
Saka, AMN, Bellerin.
Guendouzi in chances created has more than Ozil this season. Go and look it up on Premier League stats if you want to. In terms of key chances created, Ozil has 3 since last season, none this season. So somebody tell me why he's in this team. Out of all the Arsenal players I've ever seen, out of all players I've ever seen in world football, the John Terrys, the Materazzis, all those dirty, scummy players, they don't hold a candle to how I feel about Mesut Ozil.
Who was the one who Beckham kicked from Argentina? The one with the grease ball hair? No.
Simeone.
Was it?
That was Simeone.
Him as well.
So If anybody can find me, right? Because Ozil fans love stats. I give you all the stats that matters. So when I listen to idiots on certain podcasts tell me, oh, but he got 100% pass accuracy against Burnley. Tell me what those passes led to. Tell me what those passes led to. What is he doing to warrant his place? And this is where I pick on Arteta, because if Pepe is being dropped for having a poor performance against Bournemouth, then please tell me, and I'm going in the future, why is Ozil started against Newcastle? What has he done in the last 2-3 years to warrant starting every single game since Arteta got here? Ozil was a piece of shit. He is. If I can't say it, you said I had to be logical.
No. You've just put together the most logical 5 minutes, unemotional 5 minutes I've ever heard. Cut loose, Manny. Cut loose.
Do you know what? It's because I'm in a certain environment, you know what I mean? So I can't really expound like I really want to. But like I said, there is no logic. There is no logical argument for having this guy here, because he doesn't offer the running power that Willock does. He doesn't offer the work rate that Willock does. He doesn't offer he doesn't offer that sort of physical presence that you need in midfield. And even Guendouzi has more physical presence than he does. And Guendouzi falls over like a leaf. It's so easy to play against Mesut Ozil, and he is costing us legs. He's costing us a position, and he is literally blocking the path for youngsters who can come in there and show a lot more hunger than he does. If I could choke that guy, I would.
There is a logical argument, though, Manny.
No, there isn't. Don't make
You
me
want to hear it?
you.
I can tell you. Though, I said this on the Mr. Arsenal podcast. If anyone hasn't listened, listen to. But I said this on the Mr. Arsenal podcast a couple weeks ago. The reason why Ozil keeps playing is because what I believe is Arteta wants Ozil to hang himself. I think he's come under a lot of scrutiny back and forth.
You think Arteta needs? You're saying Arteta needs Ozil to play himself out of this club?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a stupid. Manny, just let me talk.
Go on, Ryan. Mike is yours.
If you go to any Arsenal social media, whether it's Twitter, it doesn't matter what it is, you have people. They'll be like, "Oh, our next game is just stupid fucking bullshit press." You have people commenting under the Twitter, "Oh, Ozil, you're my favorite player. Ozil, I hope you have this, that." They don't talk to Arsenal Football Club. They talk to Mesut Ozil. And I think that's a very, very telling thing. He brings fans. So someone like Arteta, who I think is an extremely smart person, says, okay, this guy thinks he's bigger than the club. Some people follow Mesut Ozil and don't necessarily like Arsenal. They just like Mesut Ozil, who, and I said this to one of my friends. I almost compare Mesut Ozil to Charles Manson. And it's a little crazy, but and Manny, when we first met, I was in that cult. I was in the Charles Manson cult. I was fucking killing people. I was doing some crazy shit. But once the fans were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna fucking kill Sharon Tate," I'm like, "Whoa, this is a little much." I'm done, because Sharon Tate's a hot piece of ass. But it's not the point.
Ryan, can I challenge you? Can I challenge you on your logic quickly? Because if you're telling me that Arteta.
Yeah.
Right. Then we just lost Manny. He's dropped out.
No, my point is this: it's like it's hard to explain, but out of us four, I've been to the depths of hell. I've been to the far end of the Ozil spectrum. Sure, I've deep throated his dick a few times. Not the point. And I think if anything, I don't want to insult you three. I'm probably the most qualified to talk about this. I've been to the other end of the fucking world, and for someone who I said this on other podcasts, I have been an Ozil fan before, since he's in Werder Bremen, he's done. He
hold on. Can I make this quick point, because I need to head back to work. So can I make this quick point? I wanted to challenge Ryan on something.
Go for it, love.
So for the last 2 years since his contract, he hasn't exactly been setting the water light. That chairman at Bayern Munich literally came out and called him out on so much stuff, and everything that guy said was proven right by him. So when you say when you say he needs to play himself out of the club, he's been doing that for the last 2 years. But
We have a new manager.
the stupid people that we had in charge put him on that ridiculous money, and we can't get rid of him. So when you say Arteta is playing him out of the club, he has been doing that for the last 2 years. When I say that he offers nothing, he offers nothing. When you say he brings fans, he doesn't bring Arsenal fans, he brings his fans.
But I completely agree with you. But they don't care. It's a business. They don't fucking care who.
Let's give Toby his word on this.
But
sitting quietly in the corner.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna have to literally catch this on, when I'm watching back, because I gotta head back and do some work.
All right, bro.
I can't wait to tear you apart, baby. Sorry. In a sexual way, of course.
That's just so gay, Ryan.
Listen.
Not that there's anything
I'm
wrong
getting
with
married. I gotta get my frustrations out. It's gonna be slow, but it's gonna happen.
All right, Manny. I'll catch you later, bro.
Ruined it, man. I'll catch you guys in a bit. Love you guys,
Manny.
man.
All right, peace.
See you, buddy.
Toby, do you want to have your say on it?
Sure, from 5 minutes ago, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with Ryan. I think Arteta is playing the long game, and he's giving Ozil enough rope to hang himself with. So I think he's in a very delicate political situation where the leadership group within the team hold a lot of power, particularly over the youth players that we put on such a pedestal. Don't forget the dynamics in any team and the control and the fight for control that happens with that. So Arteta's playing the long game. Don't forget, fucking Ozil has more, social media followers than the whole population of Australia. No shit,
isn't it?
And wields, a better word, wields a hell of a lot of influence over our sponsorship, our shirt sales, all that type of thing, which is what our fucking business, which is how our club is run. That's the only thing that makes their dick hard. So Arteta has a particular brief. He is also trying to manage and navigate this situation to come out in a situation that he can actually start building for the future. And I genuinely believe that what he will do with that is play that game where the overpaid, aging and contract running down players will play themselves out of relevance, and Arteta's true magic will come in with a combination of youth and new signings. So absolutely, I tend to disagree with Manny that he'll be there for the Newcastle game, because I genuinely feel that this has been an example where he's played himself out, where he's shown how tactically the opposition can nullify his positive attributes.
But Chelsea nullified him too, and it was very black and white. And
Chelsea, Hodgson, Lampard, Dyche, and fucking what's his name? What's Sheffield dude's name? Wilder.
Wilder. Yeah.
Gene Wilder.
All four of them found a way to nullify Ozil within 15 minutes with a tactical change. And anyone who not bothered, but anyone who kind of looked really tactically at that Burnley game will realize that Burnley started off with a crazy, crazy press. And our players like Guendouzi and particularly Mustafi played around them really, really quickly, got balls into Mesut Ozil in the middle of the park. And if you see what heaps of space, you see what Sean Dyche actually did. He got Burnley to back off on their press, but hold a higher line and compact the midfield. And then he went man to man on Guendouzi and Xhaka and choked the supply into midfield. And because Ozil has no running power, and because he won't go back and be that number 8 and break up the play, it completely broke down the transitional play between midfield and back. And in my opinion, that's why Guendouzi ends up looking so bad in that game, because he's holding onto the ball. He's calling for people to get close to him. They're not getting close to him. And we end up being 3v2 in the midfield. The same thing happened against Chelsea with Jorginho. We were 3v2 in the midfield. The same thing happened against Crystal Palace. We were 3v2 in the midfield. And it brings me into one of our talking points as we round up the 3-2-1s. And just to recap for guys freshly in the room, man of the month, Hector Bellerin, 2 positive points for Martinelli, 1 positive point for Saka, a -1 for Louise, a -2 for Laka, and shit cunt of the month for Mesut Ozil. But Toby, I'm going to start with you because you've been so patient listening to everyone else rabbit as per usual.
I'm still
on the Mesut Ozil thing and on our inability to press in that game, and not just in that Burnley game, but I think it actually happened particularly in the Palace game as well. But so much more highlighted once Aubameyang came back into the team and once Saka went out of the team with his injury. Our inability to maintain a consistent press, combined with or caused by the lack of athleticism in the middle of the park for us, is becoming a larger systemic issue than our need to replace defenders as Arteta tactically repairs our defensive system.
Yeah, I think I'll go a step further back than that. I think the attack has actually been, and by attack I mean the front four, has been our Achilles heel this year more so than our defense. So I feel like Aubameyang has papered over the cracks with scoring. I wouldn't even say he's been that efficient, but compared to last season, but he's been quite efficient and has literally been our only goal scoring outlet. Arteta has, I won't say fixed our defense, but nullified the errors with the defense by changing the distances, sorting out the midfield, the way they cover, the way they don't isolate themselves from each other, and protecting that defense. So our conceding record, our goals conceded, has actually been the biggest improvement under this regime. We have an incredible lack of movement up front if we're not playing the kids, especially if we're shoehorning Aubameyang and Lacazette into the team. Pepe is more of a dribbler and good from deep rather than, that hard running type of player that scares the defense. But I think coming back to your main point, how slow and cumbersome and unathletic our midfield three is, they're not providing anything for the front three to actually feed off of. So if you've got a connection with someone's eyes,
particularly highlighted in the Burnley game with Torreira coming out and Guendouzi coming in,
So if you're a forward and you have a connection with someone's eyes or their body language, their body shape, the way they dummy and feint and release the ball, it's those runs that you read, that you connect with your midfield team, that can make that. The fact that we don't have any physicality, pace, dynamic sprint speed,
running power,
ability to dribble past player, ball carriers, all of the above, we're not creating that opportunity for our front players to read that situation and make those dynamic runs. Therefore, we're stagnant, cumbersome, and boring. And, and all players have to do, all opposition teams have to do, is read that and then give us the wings. And then they know we can't head away. They know we don't have any goals from midfield. They know we don't have any late arrivals in the box. We don't know
if you go man for man in the midfield, you're going to close down Ozil.
Oh, we don't have any dynamism whatsoever. So, our issues are less now defensive. I think the defensive half of our midfield is, let's not say sorted, but certainly nullified. We really need to change up, particularly our front four, and then we need to find someone who's more dynamic and box to box. And we sure as shit need to find a goal or two from midfield.
I think if you break down all of the midfielders that we currently have and you remove Joe Willock from the equation, and I understand that there's a lot of stuff around the moment. People saying, play Joe, don't play Joe. He's not as young as what you think he is. He's not an 18-year-old kid. He's been in and around the club. He's done good things, blah, blah, blah. I'm putting that to one side. Shut the fuck up, cat. Stop meowing. Throw my fucking pen. If you take all of those midfielders as a whole and you take those combinations, Granit Xhaka, no real running power. Seriously, shut the fuck up. No real running power.
How do you have Kobe when you throw a pen like that?
Guendouzi, despite I put this up on the Arsenal fans forum, someone was like, "Oh, Guendouzi carries the ball into the final third." Yes, Guendouzi does carry the ball into the final third very slowly and riding challenges. Mesut Ozil has no run speed. I don't think he's had any running speed for the last 3 seasons, at least. I look back at highlights of Mesut when he first came into the team, and he was running through the lines. He's not running through the lines anymore. He's not arriving late into the box. So even if you take Lucas Torreira, for that matter, Lucas Torreira is a different type of athlete. I'm not saying at all that Torreira isn't unathletic, but he's a very different type of athlete. He doesn't chew up the ground. He doesn't stride out and make big distances, small distances very, very quickly with his athleticism.
He's fast with the give and go.
I'm not talking about give and go and tempo. I'm talking about physicality. I'm talking about speed. I'm talking about athletes. And I've said this so many times on so many podcasts, our podcast, Guns. I think I said it on the Mr. Arsenal podcast. I said it on Potts Preview. I think I said it on Same Old Arsenal the other week as well. The simple fact of the matter is that this team, this Arsenal team, has been constructed in a way that either doesn't suit what the coach previously in Emery needed particularly well, and now because Emery was half backed and people half bought for him, you've now got Arteta, and Arteta's inherited also rans now from 2 generations of managers. And the issue is I don't think he's going to be given the 400 million pounds required, or the 300 million pounds required to be able to turn that around immediately. And this is what I was getting at earlier on, where I was saying that because Arteta has been so successful at being able to build a system to make defenders who aren't really good look a little bit better, I wonder now if all of a sudden we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, well, maybe before we thought that we needed to put 80 million into our defense, but that defense is actually holding up okay the way it is. Granted, we need to bring in someone else. We haven't seen Mari yet, but slowly but surely the distribution of where our funds need to go into is actually starting to move more into midfield again, like it had been for the 10 years prior. That's actually the piece of the puzzle that we're missing. Because right now we're keeping clean sheets, 4 clean sheets in 7 games under Arteta, and we're not scoring goals. So clearly that's a transitional thing that has to happen, and that comes down to midfielders.
Couldn't agree more. I hope. I mean, I would like to think. I'm giving a lot of credit. I'm giving a lot of credit to Arteta right now. I hope he has some kind of targets identified of who he wants in the team, whether it be midfield, striker even, because as a club, I feel that they're very like, okay, got to bring a center back. And I think you guys brought it up in the Hot Topic, and I think Dan Potts said it, that, everybody has their sources, but how we, put aside a certain amount of money for a center back, which great. That's awesome. We definitely see a center back. I don't care what our clean sheet record is, but I hope that, Arteta can identify a midfielder, maybe 2 midfielders, preferably box to box. I mean, he said in a press conference, he wants a number 6. Did I get my number right?
I think competition for Torreira is massively important, because now if Torreira goes down, we're fucked. And when people are like, oh, well, Guendouzi can play that. When Guendouzi's come in to replace Torreira, Guendouzi and Xhaka don't fucking work. When you put Guendouzi, Xhaka and Ozil together, that's just 0 fucking athleticism and 0 pace. Yeah. So I think definitely there's 2 key positions in Arsenal's midfield. I think there's a 6 that needs to be bought and a ball-carrying 8 that needs to be bought. And if Xhaka is able to retain his spot through maintaining decent performances, fantastic. But there needs to be someone either underneath him or equal to him who provides something that he doesn't provide, which is ball carrying and lung busting and line breaking runs, to give us the opportunity to do something different. More and more now, I listen to Arsenal fans, and I listen to them say, we may need to bring in 3 centre backs in the window. And I'm like, But all of our centre backs and all of our wing backs have improved dramatically with a system that makes sense. Even Mustafi, if you remove Mustafi's Mustafi, right? If you de-Mustafi his single Mustafi may have had 3 close to man of the match performances in a row. If you remove his Mustafi. Now, if that isn't an indicator and a directive, the improvements in Luis as well. Even when Socrates came in his 1 game in the last 4 games, he managed to get himself 4 positive points. If that's not an indicator that the system that was in place before was putting the backline under stress and putting the backline under pressure, I don't know what is. So I'm just saying that in a world where we may only have £100 million to spend or £120 million to spend, we're definitely not going to get £300 or £400 million. More and more I'm looking at it now and I'm saying 1 centre-back, 2 central midfielders, and probably a straight replacement for Aubameyang with whatever we get for him. So I'm writing that money off because we're going to get 50-odd, 60-odd million pounds for Aubameyang. That's certain. And we'll just reappropriate those funds.
Not now.
I wouldn't say
we would have if we sold him in January.
He's still going to come. He's still going to be close to a Golden Boot scorer by the end. I'd be very surprised if we didn't get recoup 70% of what we paid for him. 80% even.
I don't know. 1 year left on his contract.
Anyway, not the point of the comment was about what we were going to get for Aubameyang. It was about the concept and the idea that I just don't think that the reinforcement's going to fall where they need to fall. Guys, anything to add? Any more points? Anything? I've run dry.
All I'm going to say is it's a telling thing when you notice that Mustafi is starting ahead of Socrates. So Arteta sees something in Mustafi that the majority of the fan base doesn't see, because the majority of the fan base does not like Mustafi. And
Mustafi is an Arsenal and Arsene Wenger in particular centric player. I completely understand why we purchased him, and I'm absolutely certain analytics would have been involved because of his ability to ball play. So he's quite good heading. He's certainly quite good penetrative passing. The things that we couldn't have foreseen with the analytics is that between the ears, he couldn't handle the pressure. So I personally think Mustafi is Arteta's pet project, and it could be a badge of honor of Arteta.
And he said
for his career to unfuck up the most fucked up defender.
I'll tell
in the
you
league.
what as well. Best case scenario on this thing. Before Mustafi started playing well, he was worth nothing to fucking anyone. If Arteta can get him playing until the end of the season, and I said this to Toby the other day, the centre-back partnership right now that makes sense for Arsenal, the best ball-playing centre-back partnership that we have with the way that we're playing and how we have to pass the ball into midfield because we don't have the midfielders to carry it into the in-between space, is David Luiz and Mustafi. I think that he's seen them. He came out and he said that he liked the way Mustafi reacted to when he went full Mustafi. That he then went, after he went full Mustafi, was almost man of the match in that game. And I think a lot of us gave him man of the match in the Burnley game.
I didn't even give him
and that cunt is the bionic man. Like, seriously.
Yeah. I thought he was out from. Oh man.
Yeah.
So
can I make one more discussion
for £15 million now instead of giving him out for free? I think he's busted as an Arsenal player. I don't think the Arsenal fan base will ever support him again. But at least what Arteta may be doing is giving the guy back his balls, giving him back his masculinity, his manhood, his pride. And I wonder if what you're going to see once you give someone back those sorts of things is a more energized, happier, less stressed, better player, more like the player that we got. Like it or lump it, when we first bought Mustafi in his first 4 months with the club,
we didn't lose before
very
he
good.
got injured.
Very good.
Can I make one more discussional point? Because it was one that you threw out there and we haven't really covered it. The 3 out. I don't know about the 3 in, but the 3 out.
I think we kind of covered that when we were talking about how times have changed a bit, and before a lot of people were talking about 2 centre backs and maybe a striker, and now there's more people going to the wing. But I think the crux of that conversation was that I think that if you're looking at Arteta and you're looking at Arsenal, and you're looking at how so many of the players are from different iterations. So there's still some Wenger iterations there. There's obviously Emery iterations or / board iterations that were bought for other reasons, not to mention players out on loan, Mkhitaryan, El Nenny's, things like that. I think the sheer concept that people have in their head that somehow 3 players in and 3 players out, all of a sudden we're going to be contending. The job is so much bigger than that. I think it might be more like 7 players in and 7 players out, large-scale overhaul. And I'll give you an interesting thing to back that up. So we kind of touched on it after the 3-2-1s. So the top 5 players for this month were Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Torreira, Hector Bellerin, Martinelli, and Saka. The bottom 5 players for this for this month were Louise Lacazette, Ozil, Pepe, and Aubameyang. That kind of doesn't give you an indication of how much the 2 kind of ends of the pitch or the youth products, the high-paid guys not delivering and the youth products coming through and buying into what Arteta's doing. If that doesn't kind of poke holes in the fact that the squad's been poorly built or not built with a specific endpoint in mind. Everyone talks about Liverpool and everyone talks about how, they've done this, they've done that. It's 5 years of a board working with a manager. We've lost Toby. 5 years of a board working with a manager, driving towards a set outcome. They've got towards that set outcome and now they're slowly building on that. Ryan, final word?
I agree. I mean, the one thing I definitely want to say, and I don't want to get into a huge thing, but I think a big thing that we need to do and get rid of is, we're slow with Arteta. We're slowly changing our culture. We're kind of, again, I keep bringing up the fresh air thing. I think we're getting into the fresh air thing, and I think that we need our last, like that ex-girlfriend where you're just like trying to get rid of. You're trying to start a new life, and you're trying to do big things, a new thing. And I think we need to get rid of Ozil. And I think Ozil is just like the last piece of us, almost like he's like for any Harry Potter fans out there, he's like the last Horcrux, and you gotta fucking kill it,
right? And
you need to fucking kill it to move forward as a team and move forward as a club. And I think he needs to get the fuck out of this club. And it's wild. And you could even see in this podcast, I literally bought a jersey of him and I was fucking with Manny, but I was in that fucking cult. I was in that fucking Charles Manson ass fucking cult, sucking his dick every night, fucking slaving away, making him fucking goulash, whatever he likes. And now it's like, get him out. He is the last remaining piece of the old Arsenal.
I think that I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Yeah. I think there's also, like I said, systemic issues with the way that the team has been constructed over the last 3 generations. Yeah. Tobes, final word before we sign off on the night.
Controversial, which is what I was going to say before. If we have an opportunity to sell, I'd sell both Aubameyang and Lacazette.
And start again.
Because they both have flaws.
Aubameyang, if we re-sign Aubameyang, I think that's the biggest mistake our club will make since giving Ozil 3.
I fear
that's our opportunity to
another
rebuild.
Ozil mistake. Yeah.
Don't say that. Come on.
Let's not finish on. Let's not finish on a negative. Let's try finish on some kind of a positive. Does anyone have anything positive to say?
I will whip my dick out and
the kids.
The Martinelli goal against Chelsea.
Still the kids.
All right, guys. That's us signing off for the night. We will catch you guys later on another ArseBros Rantcast. As always, you can jump us on YouTube. I think we got like 6 followers. We've only been on YouTube for 2 weeks, but jump on YouTube and follow us. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, at ArseBros Rant. You can pick us up with the audio versions, which I'm back to getting out nice and early because I know a lot of our guys still audio listeners. SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, fucking Hoover or some shit like that. I found us on some website the other day that I didn't even know we were on, and someone had written a review and said something along the lines like a Reddit thing. Someone had written, I don't know if I've got AIDS or not, but I quite like this. I'm like, that's the greatest review that I've ever had. Anyway, we love all you guys. Thank you so much for the support. It's getting to that time of the year again where it's starting to get difficult to do podcasts because it's all just so repetitive. And I know we're listening for podcasts. We're trying to get new content and everyone's saying the same shit. And everyone's just like, play Ceballos, play Willett, Killers, all this shit. Hopefully what we've been able to do today is at least provide some kind of analytic backdrop for you guys to listen to. So thank you so much. We'll catch you later. Stay tuned for the exit music. Let me work out how to do this.
Don't. Just leave.
Wait, how do I do this? He's out of there. And then I turn this off. Everybody, ArseBros, rock your body. Fucking yeah. ArseBros will be back in like a month. Peace.